Hello guys, we are back and we are actually in a lot better position that we were a while back already. I know you feel like, okay, this is not going anywhere. I wish it would be done already, but you know what? What if I told you that the hardest things are already done? This was the hardest thing, to be honest with you, was to actually get um, a navigation set up and getting your shell, your main layout shell made. This little gap that you see in here that you can barely even see, this is where your content is going to be, but this is actually the easiest part because now all you're doing now is going to be just filling this thing up with all the content from using with the using Material UI components that are already built for you, and all you have to do is just put the actual content that you want in it and then style it a little bit, and that's it. After we do that, then we're actually going to be making use of the WordPress source in order to start creating some of the pages, and we'll get to that part in a few, maybe a couple of more videos on this. So for right now, what we're going to do is we're going to go on to finish the inside of the index page. Okay, so the first thing that we had is if you see my portfolio here, I have this accordion here that I created. I'm not gonna say I love it. I'm not gonna say I hate it. In my mind, I love the idea, and then I wasn't really actually too impressed when I actually made it. But while I was making it, it was presenting a few design challenges. So I decided to keep it just because of the challenges that it gave me. If you're interested in how to build this and you want me to, help you through it, and you want to actually build it, just leave a comment in the bottom, and I'll see what I can do about maybe putting a small video next and as a bonus, probably at the end of the video, at the end of this series, and explaining how to build exactly this. But for right now, and for the sake of time and everything, we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're just going to create, one that it's a little bit more like this one, like development, and it's going to take the entire width of your screen. So it's going to be basically a hero. Okay. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So let's come over here, and we're going to go ahead and close the header, close the footer. We are done with those. I don't think we're ever gonna get back in there again. I mean, well, we will visit the header again eventually, but not right now. Okay, so I want to go over layout a little bit here. I wanted you to make sure that you know exactly what's going on in here. You have the theme provider wrapping the entire project, knowing that everything inside it is going to be themed. And then you have the CSS baseline to make sure that all these themes and CSS are baselined right into your root. And then you have your header at the top, then you have your main body here, which is where your children are going to be, and then you have your footer on the bottom. So simple enough, right? And you only have one layout in this entire thing. So we're gonna go ahead and close this footer component, this header component as well. I just close it all, close that, close this layout, get rid of it here, you don't need it. And let's start with opening the pages, and I'm gonna double click on it. There we go. And we are in the page. So the only thing that we have right now is hello Gatsby. Now you can't see it because once we made this header not static, fixed, once we made it fixed, it basically positioned above all the elements on the screen at the 0, 0 position of the window, like up here where I can't even pinpoint it with the mouse, but there you go, right there. That's at the 0, 0, and it's position fixed or position absolute, in this case position fixed, which means everything else inside it is going to basically move up to also 0, 0 right behind it. So if you notice, if you are wondering where it is, I'm going to go ahead and bring my developer windows here, my dev tools in here, and element. Okay, And so here's my header here, right? So if you're wondering where it is there. You see it, hello Gatsby. It is there. It's just behind the header. So if I just, let me see if I can hide it. If I hide it, there it is. You can see it now. It's behind there. So all we have to do is basically make sure that we bring this content down, okay? But we don't want to bring just the hello Gatsby down, you know, and then everything else we just kind of like, it'll if you bring hello Gatsby down, let's say with position absolute or something like that. Let's just go ahead into the browser here and position absolute. You see that it's already going to get up on top, and then the same thing is going to happen to the footer. The footer take its place and under it, and then also move up. So it's just going to make everything a mess. So you don't want to do that. You can, however, you can give it a margin top 64 pixels, which is the height of the header. So let me go ahead and unhide this again. There you go. So the header is back. And now hello Gatsby is what it needs to be, and everything is fine. Basically what I did was I gave the same height of that I had already set up for the header. If you can see it, it's 64. Just look over here on this side of the screen when I hover over it. You see that where it says 1474 by 64. That's the height of it, 64 pixels. So that's what I made sure that I did. I made sure that I gave this a 64 pixel height. I mean margin top, to move it exactly that much. So let's go to the code here for a second so I can show you. So here's a problem with this. I could essentially just do like a style, for example, and sorry, I was right the first time. Okay, and give it a margin top 64. I could essentially do this and give this style a margin top, and then just maybe start putting some more content in here. Hello again. You know, whatever. I could do something like this, and then if I come over here now, assuming that everything is working correctly, yep, there you go. So you can see now how the hello Gatsby H1 tag has the margin top that I styled inline right here. This one is already included there, and everything is fine. Now the problem with this is that if I go into another page again, and I'll have to, I know in this case it probably doesn't really matter much because this is the only page that I have, right? The index page. But if I did have more pages, I will have to add this margin top to the first div or the first element of every page that I have. That seems like a lot of repeat yourself, and there's something in development called do not repeat yourself. Yeah, the dry effect. Okay, so do not repeat yourself. So what we want to do is we want to make this kind of programmatic so that you don't have to worry about putting this margin top so much, and in case you forget or whatever, right? You want to kind of have to just automatically everything that you put on here automatically will be down that much. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to go back to the layout, and in the layout you're going to basically now wrap this up into a div. So I'm gonna do it up here. Div. Okay, there we go. And we're gonna put that in there now. Here we go. And now in here you can do that. Just indent that because, well, that doesn't need to be indented. Yep, my bad. Okay, that's fine. And now there you can put this. So I'm gonna grab this, save that, but then I'm gonna come over here and put it on that. Before I save this, I want you to see how it kind of went up. The one that you're seeing here is the P tag, not it's this one. It's the P tag, not the H1 tag. So now I'm gonna go ahead and save this and go back over here, and it's back. So you notice what I did was basically I made the layout, the children in the layout, right here, I gave that 64 pixels. So no matter what I'm getting injected in here, I already wrapped it into a div that is going to have 64 pixels, down from the header. Now we could go even a little better than this, okay, which is what I'm going to do. So there should be, if I haven't created already, an index styles. Seems like I didn't. Okay, so there should be a master index CSS styles that applies to the entire website, and I apologize that I didn't create that before. So I just want to make sure that I close all this so I don't lose myself, and I click on the SRC here, and then I'm gonna create a folder here, okay, and I'm gonna name it styles, and then inside that styles I am going to create a file, and I'm gonna name it sure, styles, why not, styles dot SCSS. Remember, this is not supposed to be a module that SCSS. If you do a module, remember, module only applies to that module that you're assigning it to, and not global. This it will be a scope one. So this is not a scope one. This is a global style CSS. This will apply to every page, and every page will have access to this. So I'm just gonna do that, and most likely we're gonna have to recompile, because SAS has to compile into CSS, and it has to be added to the public folder here. But before we do that, we'll do this first. So in this SAS, what we're gonna do now is we're going to programmatically use the power of SAS, which is, I know it's SCSS, but whatever. The people we just call it SAS. We're gonna harness the power of SAS in order to create what is called variables, right? SAS variables, so that we can capture the height of the header and give that same value of the header to the what do you call it, to a class that is going to be used for the margin top of the layout. Yeah, that's what I meant. All right, so basically let's go up here. Let's see where. All right, so let's just first of all, let's just create some kind of comment here so we know what we're doing. So we're gonna call this variables. There you go, variables and mixins. In case you actually end up using some kind of mixins, you can put it up there. Right now, I don't think we're gonna be able to. We're not gonna be able to. We're not going to be doing any. So don't worry about it. All right. So first thing I want to do is I want to create my first variable. The way you create variables in SAS is you create it with a $sign. So $sign, and we're gonna name this one header. Okay. And we're gonna assign it 64 pixels. Okay. Now this is SAS. This is not JSX. So this will be fine. You don't have to do this. Okay. That's somewhere else. That's when you're actually working in the JavaScript file. But you're working in a SAS file with SAS syntax, which is fine. And then so we're giving that the header that much. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to give we're going to create a class here, and what should we call this? Wrapper? Sure. So we're going to create a class called wrapper. Whoa, there you go. We're going to call it wrapper. Yep. And then we're going to call this wrapper MarginTop. And then we're going to give it that variable that we created up there. Okay. So this MarginTop is going to be 64 pixels basically by injection. It's going to inject the value of header in here, and this is going to be the same thing as MarginTop 64 pixels. It's going to be exactly the same thing. Okay. All right, so that wrapper now can be used. Okay, so if I go ahead and save this, and I know I haven't compiled, so it probably won't show up, but that's fine. I can use this class now as well. I can go to my layout, and then I can come over here and get rid of this style and put class name, and then use my regular quotations mark, and then put wrapper. You don't have to import your styles. I believe you don't have to. I believe that your index is automatically added in your entry file, but I could be wrong. I'm not sure if Gatsby does that for you automatically or not. I know that, but I guess we'll figure it out. No, I guess we'll figure it out. I believe they do. I believe it does automatically add the styles to the main build. All right, we'll do that. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna stop the process here and do a Gatsby develop so we can get our website back again. Now, while that's doing this right here, all it did was basically add the margin top to a wrapper class, and all we did basically was just to add the wrapper class, what is here, so you can give the margin top. Well, that really didn't do much, anything different than what we had already done to the header here, right? So this is what I'm proposing. So if you go back to the header in the components, and you open the header here, and then we know here that the header has a position fix in the app bar, and in the classes grow. So we go to, this is the grow class, which is not the actual one that has the 64 pixels. If you notice, that one has a 0 height. Look in the top above the picture, and it says 1474 times 0. So that's just the grow class. It's the one next to it that has a 64, which is the header class that has the app bar, the MUE app bar in there. Okay, so that's the one that you want to add that class name to. So in here, we're going to add a class name. And then we're going to call this one main header. Let's just use, so we can, there you go. I'm going to call this one main header. And we're going to save that. Alright, so now that we have that main header, we're going back over here to the style here. And then just right above this, we're going to put main header. And then we're going to give it a height of header. And save that. Alright, so this is what excuse me, this is what I did. I basically married both of these, the height of the header and the margin top of the wrapper class that is in the layout, to the same height, to the same value, right? So now my header will always, because it's being affected by this class, will always be 64 pixels, and my layout will always be margin top 64 pixels. So the way that I do this like this is a little better for one reason. If you ever get a client that says, oh, you know what, 64 is great, but not enough because I want my logo to be like really big and I want it to be like 120 pixels or something like that, no problem. You can always come over here and just change this variable to 120 and save it, and it will automatically do it for both the header and the margin top without having any issues in your deployment, so in your UI. So they both will change at the same time. All right, let's see what's going on here. We're probably having some issues with compiling again. Building. Okay, still building. Okay, we are back. All right, let's see what's going on here. Maybe I have to create some importance on this height. Margin height. All right, let's look it up. My guess is because I am affecting it. Alright, let me see. Main header is there. Here's the class. But I'm actually not calling the, okay, you know what is this style sheet that is not actually being injected? All right, so I was wrong. So basically, excuse me, I have something in my throat. So this style sheet is not really being injected in automatically by Gatsby, which I thought it was, but that could be fixed. So we're going to import styles and styles. There you go. Excuse me. Okay. So we're going to import the styles and styles, whatever. And we're going to do this in the layout. The reason why we want to do it in the layout is because we want it to affect everyone inside your application, from the header to the footer to this div, obviously, everyone. So we're going to go ahead and save this. And here we go. Now you see how everything changed. You see how this went to 120. You see, look in the corner here somewhere. You see 120? Great. And then you see Hello Gatsby also moved down 120. So if you look at Hello Gatsby, where is it? It should be in the wrapper, of course. If you see the wrapper class, it's also MarginTop 120. So it moved at the same time with the header. See, the header is, the height is 120, the wrapper is 120. So this is how you make things work at the same time, by making use of this header. So right now, this doesn't seem like a big deal. I can just, 2 lines of code, I can just change it myself. But when you have to deal with hundreds and thousands of lines of code, this could become a problem. So it's easier to just have one little line up here in the variables that you just, that is the only line that you'll have to change, and it will change it everywhere else automatically. And look at that. So it makes it a lot easier, and a lot easier to maintain, and a lot easier to keep up with. Okay, so that's basically everything there is to it. I know that this is like a little too tight over here, but I don't want to give the layout wrapper class, for example, something like that, for example, like this. Sorry, something like this, like 25 pixels, which it will be great if I did that. Okay, that looks a lot better. I don't want to do that, because if I did this, then once I put my, like a hero image, for example, that I wanted to take all the way to the edge, I'm not gonna be able to do it unless I add it to the layout, unless I put it on above here somewhere, or do some crazy hacking. So I don't want to really do that there. That's not the place I want to do that. I'll do that in a different place, where I can just keep my margins and everything, the way that I want it to be. I want it to be stuck at the bottom of the header, and I want it to be stuck to the edge of each end of the browser, and stuck to the bottom of the top of the footer also. All right, and we'll see this will make a lot more sense once we actually start adding the hero in the next video. All right, I'll talk to you soon.